Howdy folks, Keith Bowen here for Hard Rock University. Today we're going to do a review on the Keene RC-46 crusher. I really like this machine. It does a lot in a small package and does it reliably. Now, they make an electric drive, a gasoline drive, a skid mount, and a trailer. This is the gasoline drive trailer version. You can just hook it up behind a pickup truck, take it where you want to go, fire it up, and you're rocking and rolling. It's got a Honda engine here. This thing has been sitting out in the weather for over 2 years. We use it occasionally. It's still running just fine. Can't be happier. Super reliable. The top of this, there's a 4x6 jaw crusher. This will take any rock the size of my fist or even a little bit bigger and just crunch it right up. This is something we made. They make a much safer hopper on top so that rocks can't fly out at you. This is big enough you can just pour a whole bucket full of stuff in here and it'll feed itself. Below the jaw crusher is 2 6-inch rolls. This mechanism adjusts the spacing between the rolls. Normally they'd be touching each other and being pressed against each other and crushing the rock to essentially sand. Now, you see 2 buckets under here because I've made a modification. First of all, you can see it's sitting up on some cinder blocks. This has been dug out a little bit so I can get buckets underneath it. I made a little screen here so that the 1/8 inch plus goes off one way, 1/8 inch minus goes off a different way. That way I can regrind the 1/8 inch plus right off the bat without having to get it rejected off my extraction process. Just makes it a little more efficient. This is, in our case, it's dealing with some really hard rock, some tough quartz, and it can eat it up. One problem is it tends to wear out the jaw plates fairly quickly. We'll get into that. They're easy to hard face and put back in. So the whole operation will shut you down for about 5 minutes to replace the jaw plates. And hard facing them, you can get them back to snuff in about $1 or $2 worth of hard facing, but there are little tricks I'll get to later. Another thing they have with this is what they call the roller scraper. Now this goes between the 2 rollers, so they're rolling on top of it like this. So the material, after it gets crushed between the rollers, then has to be scraped past this. The negative on this is it adds a lot of wear. It also slows down the process and takes more energy, so starting it can be a little tougher with this because you got a lot of drag right off the bat. If you got hard rock, this is going to really increase the wear rate. Your rollers run about $500 each, and they're not real quick to replace like the jaw plates. So we don't generally use this except for specialized applications. If we got a situation where we want to double check something, or if we're crushing, say, concentrates, which aren't nearly as abrasive, we're trying to get them crushed to a fine powder, this works pretty well. In general, if you're using this, you're going to be wearing out your rollers real fast on most ores. So it's a nice idea, but of limited utility in my opinion. This is the 4x6 jaw crusher. Here's your movable jaw, here's your fixed jaw. There's 1 screw at the top, 1 screw at the bottom. That's all that holds this jaw plate. This one here, there's only 1 bolt in the middle that holds it. And that's why it's so easy to replace these. This is hard facing on here, and that's the secret of making this economical. You need to get some extra jaw plates and have a fresh set hard face sitting in reserve at all times, in my opinion. Now, below that, here's your rollers. That's better. Here's your rollers here. Here's your fixed jaw. It comes directly from the bottom. There's your movable jaw right there. Comes directly between these jaws and into the rollers. And what I'm going to do is I am actually going to fire this baby up and we are going to look at it. Now this is not safe the way it's done. Keene does not provide it in this configuration. They have this really nice plate right here. But I'm going to leave that off at the moment so you can see exactly what's going on. This operation requires safety glasses. Now I'm going to light this thing up. I had it running a little bit earlier today, but aside from that, it hasn't run in 6 months. That's what I mean by reliable. Here's your movable jaw, your fixed jaw. Can the camera see that? Look in there. Once it gets past the rollers, say, in my custom modification, I never can take anything that comes from the factory and leave it alone. It's just a curse. But anyhow, my custom modification gives us an 1/8 inch plus product. And an 1/8 inch minus product. The 1/8 inch minus will go straight to extraction. The 1/8 inch plus goes straight to regrind. General impressions on the machine: it's well designed. The design does a real good job. It's robust. There's plenty of power. Wear rates are perfectly reasonable. And easily controllable. Been very reliable, very robust, very happy with this machine. It'll eat up 500 to 1,000 pounds per hour of rock and turn it into feed for my process. It depends on how fine we're grinding it and how much regrind there is, but as a general rule, my extraction will run at most 400 pounds an hour, so I can easily keep up with it with this. If the grind coming directly off the rollers is good enough for you, and you've got something a little softer than hard quartz, you can probably get it up over 1,000 pounds an hour, but I don't know by how much. 500 pounds an hour is well within the capabilities of this machine under extreme conditions. Everything's pretty easy to grease, except there's a grease zerk in there that's a bitch to get to. I think they should have a remote hose on that. You might want to put one on yourself. This roller is easy to replace. It comes off pretty easy. This one, not so much. The jaw plates, here we have 2 jaw plates from the movable jaw. You can see the hard facing on them. Now, if you're not an experienced welder and you try welding that hard facing on, what's going to happen is they're going to warp like a son of a gun on you. Okay? As a matter of fact, you can probably see this one's a little bit dished from the welding. Get heat distortion really badly in a case like this because you're welding individual beads continuously. So what you want to do, take 2 plates, put them back to back. Put about an 1/8 to a 3/16 inch piece of bar in there, and then clamp the two ends very, very firmly. You know, the equivalent of a vise. I've got some angle iron and some big bolts that I use. But you want these clamped really hard, then weld them, let them cool, release it, and they'll still be pretty flat. That's the trick. If you don't do that, you're going to mess them up. They're not horribly expensive. As I recall, it's like $75 for a set of wear plates. But if you got hard rock like we've got, that gets pretty pricey pretty quick. About every 8 hours, we'd be replacing a wear plate. As it is with the hard facing, it goes longer than that. You can also reverse them. Both plates, you're going to tend to wear down here. So you can take this one, run it until you're almost worn through, turn it around, do the same, then take it out and hard face it. The air filter can get plugged fairly easily. You may have noticed there was a lot of dust. So we have spare air filters. We also have a fan that we tend to blow the air away from the air filter so that this dust is coming this direction instead of that direction. If you have the ability to just move it into the wind, do so. You could also set up some kind of snorkel arrangement. If it was in a mill, you'd be running an electric motor anyway. That's about it. Fairly simple to maintain. Got belt drive. According to the manufacturer, if the jaw gets jammed, it will slip the belts before anything breaks. They've been pretty honest with me on everything else, so I believe them on that. Another thing, you do not want to shut this thing off under load. If you're crushing rock, do not shut it off. If it starts bogging down when you're crushing, you throw some rocks in there, clean your air filter. Because when this baby shuts down and that jaw is full, you've got to get it completely empty before you can restart it. That means you have to dig all the way down as far as you can, then take a 1/4 inch bar and bash everything else through, pull this roller back to let everything go through, then you can restart the engine. Aside from that, it's not going to move. So do not shut it down under load. If it starts bogging down on you, change the air filter before it shuts down under load. And that's about it on this machine. Really happy with it. This is my go-to machine, and happy with the customer support I've gotten from Keene. They've been really helpful on some questions I've had and some issues I've had. So can't say good enough things about that. They have a lot of things, a lot of stuff in their catalog, especially when it comes to dredging and sluicing and stuff like that. They're one of the, if not the biggest suppliers in the world for prospecting dredges and such. But they also have a lot of other neat stuff, everything from pans to magnifiers and sieves and the whole 9 yards. So check out their website if you're looking for anything about gold prospecting, gold mining. They got a lot of good stuff. This is one of the good stuff they got. Happy prospecting. Keep it safe out there.